The music box hadn't played in 23 years, yet when I lifted its delicate lid that autumn afternoon, the melody spilled out like water from a broken dam. I had come to clear out my grandmother's house, expecting dust and memories, but I never expected to find a piece of my own heart waiting for me in her bedroom dresser. The October light filtered through her lace curtains, casting intricate shadows across the hardwood floor that creaked with each step I took through rooms that had once been filled with her gentle humming and the scent of lavender soap. The house felt suspended in time, as if it had been holding its breath since she passed, waiting for someone to return and breathe life back into its corners. Her bedroom was exactly as she had left it. The quilt she had hand-stitched, still smoothed across the bed, her reading glasses folded beside a well-worn copy of Psalms, and the antique dresser that had belonged to her mother standing like a sentinel against the far wall. I had been methodically working through each drawer, wrapping her jewellery in tissue paper and placing her scarves in donation boxes, when my fingers found the music box tucked away in the bottom drawer beneath a stack of handkerchiefs that still carried the faint fragrance of her perfume. It was a small thing, no larger than my palm, made of rosewood with mother-of-pearl inlay that caught the afternoon light like captured moonbeams. I recognized it immediately. She had kept it on her nightstand when I was a child, and I had been fascinated by the tiny ballerina that would spin to Chopin's Minute Waltz whenever the lid was opened. But as the familiar melody began to play, something felt different. The ballerina spun as she always had, her pink tulle skirt a blur of motion, but there was a soft rustling sound beneath the music that hadn't been there before. I tilted the box toward the window, letting the pale sunlight reveal what lay hidden in its velvet-lined interior. There, folded so small it had escaped my childhood notice, was a piece of cream-coloured paper with my name written across it in handwriting I knew as well as my own. My hands trembled as I lifted the letter from its hiding place, the paper soft with age and yellowed at the edges like autumn leaves. The ink had faded to a warm brown, but the words were still legible in my grandmother's careful script. I could almost see her sitting at her writing desk by the window, the one with the roll top that we had sold years ago, her silver pen moving thoughtfully across the page as she chose each word with the deliberation of someone who understood their weight. I sank into her rocking chair, the same one where she had read me stories when thunder frightened me awake during summer storms, and carefully unfolded the letter. The paper whispered as it opened, releasing the faint scent of old roses and vanilla that had always clung to everything she touched. At the top of the page, written in her elegant hand, was a date that made my breath catch in my throat. June 15th, 2001. 3 days before my 18th birthday, the night before I left for college. The last night I would ever spend in this house as the child I had always been in her eyes. The letter began simply, without preamble or explanation, as if she had been speaking to me across the kitchen table over cups of tea and warm cookies. My dearest Emma, tonight I watched you pack your suitcase with the same careful precision you have brought to everything since you were small enough to stand on a stool beside me in the kitchen, measuring flour for Sunday biscuits. You folded each sweater with such attention, as if the way you arranged your belongings could somehow prepare you for all the unknowns waiting beyond these walls. I wanted to come to your room, to sit on the edge of your bed as I have done 1,000 times before, but I found myself unable to move from this chair, unable to find the words that felt large enough for this moment. Tomorrow morning you will leave for college, and though it is only 3 hours away, I know that the girl who drives away from this house will not be the same one who returns at Thanksgiving. This is as it should be. This is the purpose of all our loving and teaching and letting go. But knowing this does not make it easier to watch you slip away from me like sand through my fingers. I have been writing this letter in my mind for months. Ever since you received your acceptance letter, we danced around the kitchen together, flower in your hair and joy on your face. I have been trying to find a way to tell you all the things a grandmother should say to her granddaughter before she steps into the world. But every attempt feels inadequate, like trying to hold water in cupped hands. So let me tell you this. You are the answer to prayers I didn't know I was praying. When your mother placed you in my arms 18 years ago, red-faced and fierce, even then, I felt something in my heart that I had never experienced before, not even with my own children. You were not just my son's daughter. You were a gift I had not dared to hope for, a second chance at the kind of love that asks for nothing in return. I watched you grow from a colicky baby who would only sleep when I sang the old lullabies my mother had sung to me into a curious toddler who followed me around the garden, your small hands always ready to help plant seeds or water flowers. I watched you become a thoughtful child who would spend hours on my front porch, reading books that were too advanced for your age and asking questions that made me see the world through your eyes. I watched you navigate the storms of adolescence with a grace that amazed me, holding tight to your values even when the world seemed determined to shake them loose. And now I am watching you become a young woman of such strength and compassion that I sometimes forget to breathe when I look at you. There are things I want you to remember when the world becomes heavy, as it sometimes will. Remember that you come from a line of women who survived wars and depressions, who loved fiercely and forgave completely, who found beauty in simple things and strength in their faith. Your great-grandmother could make soup from nothing and hope from less than that. Your grandmother, me, learned to find joy in small moments and peace in surrendering the things she could not control. And your mother, despite our complicated history, gave you life and then trusted me to help shape it. You carry all of us within you, but you are not bound by our limitations. You are free to become more than we ever dreamed possible. I want you to know that every choice you have made has filled me with pride, even the ones that worried me. When you decided to major in social work instead of medicine, I saw your heart choosing purpose over prestige. When you spent your summer volunteering at the children's hospital instead of working for spending money, I saw your spirit choosing service over self. When you chose to attend the state university instead of the prestigious private college that offered you a scholarship, I saw your wisdom choosing substance over show. These choices tell me that you will be fine, more than fine, in this world. They tell me that you will make a difference in ways both large and small, that you will touch lives and heal hearts and make the world a little brighter for having you in it. But I also want you to remember to be kind to yourself when you make mistakes, because you will make them. I want you to remember that it is okay to ask for help when the burden becomes too heavy to carry alone. I want you to remember that coming home is never a step backward. This house will always be a sanctuary where you are loved without condition or question. Most importantly, I want you to remember that love is not diminished by distance or changed by time. The love I have for you will not grow smaller when you are 3 hours away or 3,000. It will not fade when I am no longer here to speak it aloud. Love like ours becomes part of the air you breathe, the ground you walk on, the light that guides you home. I have placed this letter in my music box, the one you have always loved, because I hope that someday when I am gone and you are cleaning out my things, You will find it, and remember this moment, not the sadness of saying goodbye, but the joy of having loved so completely. There is so much more I want to say, but words feel insufficient for the vastness of what lives in my heart when I think of you. So instead, I will say this. You are my greatest pride, my deepest joy, my most fervent prayer answered. You are the song my heart sings when it is too full for words. Go into the world, my darling girl, and shine as brightly as you were meant to. The rest of us will be here, cheering you on, loving you always. Your devoted grandmother. I don't know how long I sat in that chair, the letter trembling in my hands as tears blurred the words I had read 3 times through. The music box had long since wound down, but the melody seemed to echo still in the quiet room, mixing with the sound of my own heartbeat and the distant whisper of October wind through the maple trees outside her window. 23 years had passed since she wrote those words, and in that time, I had indeed made mistakes, some small, some large enough to shake the foundation of who I thought I was. I had struggled through my first year of college, homesick and overwhelmed. I had questioned my career choice more times than I could count. I had married the wrong person and divorced him 2 years later. I had lost jobs and friends and faith in myself. But I had also kept her faith in me alive, even when I couldn't feel it myself. I had become a social worker, just as she had foreseen, and had spent the last 15 years working with children who reminded me daily why I had chosen this path. I had remarried, this time to a man who loved me with the kind of steady devotion she would have approved of. I had raised 2 children of my own, trying to give them the same unconditional love she had given me. And through it all, I had carried her with me, in the way I hummed old lullabies to my babies, in the way I found beauty in ordinary moments, in the way I tried to love without condition or reservation. I had come home more times than I could count, seeking refuge in this house that had always welcomed me with open arms, and the scent of something delicious baking in the oven. She had been right about so many things, but most of all, she had been right about love, not being diminished by distance or changed by time. Sitting in her chair, holding her words in my hands, I could feel her presence as clearly as if she were standing behind me. Her gentle hand on my shoulder, her voice soft in my ear, telling me that everything would be all right. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the music box, but not to hide it away again. Tomorrow I would frame it and hang it in my own bedroom, where I could read her words whenever I needed to remember who I was and where I came from. But for now, I simply held the music box and listened to the silence that felt so full of love it took my breath away. As the October afternoon faded into evening, painting her room in shades of gold and amber, I understood why she had never sent the letter. Some things are too precious to risk in the uncertainty of the mail, too sacred to trust to anything but time itself to deliver at exactly the right moment. She had known, somehow, that I would need these words not at 18 when I was brave and fearless and certain of my place in the world, but now, at 41, when life had taught me both the weight of sorrow and the buoyancy of joy, when I was finally old enough to truly understand the depth of what she was offering me. The letter had waited 23 years to find me, patient as love itself. And in finding it, I had found her again, not as memory or ghost, but as the living presence she had always promised she would be, written in fading ink, but eternal as the stars that were just beginning to show themselves in the darkening sky beyond her window.